I think most great teachers would be great presenters because they make learning irresistible, or they try to.
You're listening to the EduTechGuys, EduTechGuys.com.
I met Kevin probably about 10 years ago as we were learning how to integrate technology and that type of thing. And he came in and did the keynote and did a couple breakout sessions and instantly became friends. And I see him as absolutely one of my mentors. I wouldn't be doing this right here if he wouldn't, if he hadn't pushed to say, you guys should be doing something. You should be doing this.
The moment I started following him on Facebook, that's while we're doing this. Welcome, Kevin. I hope you hear us okay.
Kevin Honeycutt, that's an awful introduction, and I apologize, but just awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We're all living in this reality right now where we're trying our best to preserve great education against some pretty tough odds in some cases. When you chip away at the profession, the years it took us to get certified, and the money we spent, and you make an assumption that anyone can walk off the street and teach, you basically undervalue what we do. And I think there are people who think that anyone can walk in and teach, and what they're going to find out. And I feel kind of sorry for some of the practitioners who try that, and I know some who've walked in with the teeth of the classroom, because if you don't know what you're doing, those kids will hand your butt to you pretty quick, and you'll get humbled. The problem is, in that process of people who aren't really prepared, is that kids are wasting educational opportunity while we experiment with this thing. What I want to say is, guys and girls, it would be nice if you trusted those of us who chose to get a degree. You trust your doctor. You don't bring in a mechanic and say, hey, you worked for Midas, you could probably do my open heart surgery.
Right.
So why would you treat our profession that way? And I think it's, again, this chipping away at and undervaluing this thing that we do. So I'm really passionate about that because I don't know a whole lot of lazy teachers. I know tired teachers. I know overworked teachers. I think that sometimes these people who seem to be against us, can you still hear me?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that ping, and I thought Red October.
Sorry.
Is Red October on there?
Yeah, that's right. One ping only.
I think what we got to do is stand up, and I don't mean get ugly, but I think we have to tell our story better. We have to make sure people understand that we're professionals and that it took a long time to get to be as good as we are. I'm not against helping people who want to come to the profession in oblique ways. I'd love to help them. I just don't want there to be a core group of people out there that are selling to the public that anybody can walk into a classroom and be an effective instructor. I think that's dishonest.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. I always say you don't get your grade year back. You only get to the third grade one time. And if we start bringing in people that really don't understand what we do as teachers in education, we're going to waste a whole lot of kids' time.
Now, I'll be the first person to tell you that college did not prepare me for the classroom 100%. 70% of what I did in the classroom I learned on the spot because most colleges are 10 years behind the curve. But that 30% they did teach me was invaluable as I made my way down those uncharted waters. And if I'd have walked off the street with none of that preparation and all the passion in the world, I think I would have gotten killed. So again, I really think it's important to value the teachers we have, the commitments they've made. And when you're looking for ways to save money, if you're looking to dump teachers, I don't think you're looking very hard.
I love to have other people in from outside. I was a band director for 15 years. So, when I came out, I was green. I could play an instrument, and I could play lots of instruments and that kind of stuff, but the first time you stand in front of kids, you go, now, what did my high school chemistry teacher do to make everyone be quiet? Or, what was that deal? Yeah. I don't think they have that experience and know how to hone that task.
If you're going to create a pathway for people to come in off the street and bring expertise, then create a pathway. But don't replace, the classroom teacher with that apparatus. I think if you want to create a career in tech ed course where people from professions come in, that's fine. That's fine. They work daily in a factory, and they have the most fresh data on what it's like to be in an industry. But to try to wholesale, I don't want to try to wholesale replace this profession because I believe we know what we're doing, and everyone in the world has an opinion, And so many of them get to have their opinion while we have to do what they say.
Right.
I think what we need is more power. I think we need to seize the reins of this profession and say, we know what we're doing. We're not asking anymore, because when we asked, we got some bad answers. So here's what we're going to do. And one thing we can do is shine a light on the things that are working. I think there's too much light shined on the things that are perceived as not working. We've got to talk louder. We've got to live out loud in this profession, or we're going to die quietly.
That's okay. It's an honorable death. So tell us.
Yeah, that was great. That was.
Thank you. You know me.
Hey, yeah.
Hey, so let's jump into it. I got to tell you, yesterday I got my stuff from Jamstick. I just wanted to tell you, I wouldn't have known about Jamstick if I hadn't, been following you. But they sent me a ton of promotional stuff and a T-shirt and stickers, and so, pretty excited about it.
And I have made so much better peanut butter and jelly sandwiches
with the Jamstick.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, with the Jamstick.
Shut up, Greg. You're out. So, Podstock this last week. Last week? Yeah.
Last week.
Yep.
Just wrapped it up.
I caught some of the jam sessions. So how was it? Is it exciting as it looked like it was?
Yeah, it's an amazing conference. This is my baby, because I had this idea that if we had a conference and invited the Jedis, the people we meet out in the field that we think are amazing, all to one conference, what would that be like? And that's what Podstock is. It's the other believers, it's the other zealots, the people who typically get beat up daily for their innovative ideas. Giving them 3 days to hang out with other Jedis and just re-believe is powerful. The kind of things you see there, the kind of friendships, these lifelong friendships that happen. These sessions are great. They're wonderful. It's those side conversations. The best conferences are like that. It's the hallway conversations that are the meat of the matter. And the crazies who come and realize, maybe I'm not so crazy, or maybe there are more of me than I thought there were. Maybe I'm okay. Because if you go back and believe for a year, when you're leading kids and you're taking them in the right direction, it's important that we help sustain you, so that's kind of what that's all about. And it was as good as any conference we've ever done before. I think the pre-conference maker event was off the hook, just amazing. People came in with creativity, and Ginger Lumen sort of ran that whole thing, and she's amazing at doing these things. It was just amazing. The energy was great. That led right into the conference, which, we do these evening music events. Tweetwood Mac was there opening night,
That's awesome.
And Tweetwood's starting to do more gigs. It's kind of amazing as we go out there. We did the Hard Rock Cafe in Philadelphia at ISTE. Oh my gosh, we're starting to get legit. It's a little bit scary.
Yes.
We have a set list we could actually play. And we still get people on stage to do karaoke. We still want to confirm and make sure nerds have their rock star moment they deserve. And all those things happened there, of course. And it's just a fun culmination of a year's worth of meeting people, getting them all home again to the mothership,
Well, and one of the things that it blows me away, because I know this may come as a shock to some folks, but I tend to be very introverted and in my shell, and I don't mind going and hanging it out, but don't drag me into things. And Kevin he will drag you into things. And so it was like I can remember where we were. It may have been something in Hot Springs, maybe, or something. I can't remember. Anyway, we're at some conference, and you had just gotten some new gadget that you were playing around with, that I'm sure you attached to some other non-gadget type piece of equipment, tradigital as you call it, traditional and digital mixed together. And I just remember you were like, hey, I know you come up here on stage, and I'm up there tapping on the drums on my iPad. You're jamming with the guitar. Somebody else was playing something else on an iPod, I think, at that point. I don't know. But all of that to say that what I think you guys do in terms of that, grabbing people, like you said, giving nerds a chance to kind of rock out, it's awesome. Just because, really, if you know Kevin, you don't get a choice. You really don't. You're going to come up here and you're going to do this. And you're going to make a fool of yourself, and so what? You're going to have fun doing it. It's so cool. It is so cool.
You say I dragged you, but you had roller skates on.
Okay, all right. I'll give you that.
Most people want to. I think that what you're doing is saying, guys, we got a role model that will take a chance. If we don't do that, we're dead. We've got to do that in front of our kids, too. Admit we don't know everything and have fun learning anyway. That's really the secret sauce behind these things. These things I do aren't accidents. They're sort of soft ways to approach something that's a bit hard for people, trying something they haven't tried before. That's hard. So if you make it fun, and on the record there's a picture of it happening, you can't go back from that. You pretty much are confirmed. Once we had the picture,
you
signed a contract, baby.
That's right. There it is.
It's very sneaky, but it's my way. My Trojan horse way of getting change to happen is sneaking in under the radar rather than pointing at you and saying you're wrong.
Right.
We just kind of have fun and talk about what right might look like.
Well, and I think it also goes really well with your hook 'em and cook 'em philosophy. I mean, it really does. You find something that you have an uncanny way of reading an audience. And I've been to multiple things that you've done now, and you really do. You have an uncanny way of reading an audience and finding that kind of underlying, how can I get in and hook them, and then by the end we're cooked. We're drinking the Kevin Kool-Aid, and we are ready to launch off and do what we want to do and get all excited, and it's fun to be a part of. It's very interesting to watch, but it's.
Don't you think the best teachers do that every day?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so to me, I think as a speaker, you got to allow yourself to be the teacher you used to be, and paint a picture that's worth becoming a part of, instead of giving a kid a list of things they're supposed to memorize. I think most great teachers would be great presenters because they make learning irresistible, or they try to,
Right.
So is that the response you get from a lot of people that do that? That, hey, I went back and I put on a show every day, and I let the kids be part of that show. Let them be who's trapped inside. Is that kind of the feedback you're getting from your workshops?
That's what I want to get. It takes a while for people to give themselves permission. If you watch Spinal Tap, it takes a while for people to know that their amp goes to 11. Most people live at 7, and they don't even get it to 10. I don't know why they don't give themselves permission to be fully themselves. I think to be vulnerable in front of a group is the most powerful place to be. I think to be an expert is dangerous, and these days especially, because expertise, man, the freshness date for expertise is gone 24 hours. Try to write a book about Web 2.0. By the time it's printed, it's obsolete. Right. So if you're setting everything up on expertise, I think it's a losing battle. If you set up everything on vulnerability, come learn with me. And that you're allowed to fail. In fact, we want to fail so we can autopsy failure. I think that's the place where I'd rather live. And now, not everyone likes this. There's a cult of expertise out there that finds me wanting, that I'm not up there telling them exactly how it should be because that's what they do. But they're killing people with this.
Right.
Yes. My favorite line from the movie A River Runs Through It, he's talking about his father with regard to fishing. And he says, "My father was of the opinion that any man that didn't know how to properly catch a trout should ever be allowed to disgrace a trout by catching one." Do you hear the arrogance in there?
Yes.
And I think there are people who say the only people that should be allowed to use an iPad are the ones who have gone through the sanctioned training and do it exactly like Apple said you have to do it. I resent the straitjacket. I don't think it makes room for creative people who come to these things from different angles and do it every bit as well, just not by the rules. Sure. I think the rules are suspect these days. They change daily. I think the only thing left is, how do you learn best, and what can we do with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny. The thing that I would love to do with you is a Prairie Home Companion type show, where that's the conference piece, is that it's broadcasting live, but the show is the whole show. Tweetwood Mac's there. You're bringing people up doing the whole thing, and we do the whole thing with 2 devices. So the teacher can understand, hey, guess what? You can do the same thing in your classroom with an Android or a Google Chromebook or an iPad.
Right. And we on purpose, we break things on purpose. I used to do this with my high school students. I would unplug the web every now and then, just because don't use anything as a crutch. everything should be a tool. So what if the web goes down? You didn't have a plan? What if suddenly the app doesn't work because for some reason they went bankrupt and there's no support? That was the only plan you had? I want to think more like MacGyver. So what you're saying there, I don't just want to do that. I also want someone messing with things so that we have to improvise constantly, because I think that's the new way to think. The person that can improvise based on the new tools that were invented and the ones that went away because Google decided to discontinue without telling any of us. Right. And suddenly that button's gone, and you were going to tell 300 people how to do that today. We better learn how to unclench our sphincters and kind of relax a little bit and role model that for kids. I think when we get uptight, they see that and they start to get uptight, and there's no reason why they should get uptight. I think it's okay that we be a bit like MASH doctors, inventing new surgery in the time of need. Mm-hmm. There's all this need and opportunity, and we're still using one scalpel. Come on, people, we can do better than this. There are new instruments invented every day. And I think, as a leader within the group, you want to anoint a certain amount of people within that group, the ones who are just always looking. I want to give them superpowers so they can go bring to us what they just found with that one tweet, because something was invented last night that we absolutely need. For instance, if then. Do you guys use if then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This,
Oh,
that,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we need to have an if-then conference, because if-then, is primary computer language, right? If this, then that. It's gate language, from zeros and ones. But I also love the idea that you can make your life work for you. If an email comes from this person, then it triggers this on my calendar. Sure. I could automate my life and stop working with minutia. I think if-then is life software. What else is like that? And how can we start to use that so we stop doing, first and second level tech support, and we can get to what we really want to do and need to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I hear what I wish teachers were put in that place every day where, okay, this doesn't work. I've got to find another route to it, so that in their bag of tricks, no matter what happens every day, hey, that's okay, kids. I got 6 other ways to get that apple out of that tree. Don't worry about it. We're gonna get through. And the kids learn from that. That's the big thing.
Well, and not only that, but what if I don't have those 6 other tricks in my bag? It doesn't matter. Hey, kids, this is what I had planned. This didn't work. You help me. How do you think we should approach this? I've got the content knowledge. So that's covered. I know what it is that I need you to learn or want you to learn, but the students themselves could help with the how do we learn? What are we going to use to learn?
So when are we bringing the kids to the conferences? That's what I want to know. When are the kids coming to the conferences?
And this is what the Maker event's all about. When Ginger Lumen does a STEAM Maker, students and their teachers come. And the teachers are not allowed to be the experts. They are not allowed. I think you need to manufacture that. I don't know how can we do it together. The danger in teaching is you want to be codependent. You don't mean to, but you got into it to be a savior. They raise their hand and you come over and solve their problem and it feels good. we gotta be okay with saying, I wish I knew how to do that. What would you do? And that feel just as good as solving their problem. Because in my opinion, when you solve their problem, you unwrap their Christmas presents for them.
Right.
These are their presents to unwrap. And so I think sometimes we have to pretend we don't know so they can show us a solution we never even thought of. Mm-hmm. Maker forces that issue. And the way Ginger Lumen does it, she really puts the teachers on notice and says, you're not leading. You're asking good questions, and you're finding them amazing when they come up with solutions. And people sometimes have a hard time with that. And she's strong enough to say, we're doing this, because she doesn't care. And the result is always amazing. So I'm loving that whole Maker environment. And I love, guys, teachers get nervous because they don't understand the device. I think we're perfectly parked. If we did understand the device, we should pretend we don't. So since you don't understand, you're cast perfectly in the role of co-learner with the kid.
Sure. Yeah, so you're already ahead of the game.
Right. So this is, again, a fun time to be alive if you just relax and get over the idea that you have to know everything, because that's already over. Google kicked your butt 20 years ago. It's been over for a while. The sad part is you're still mourning the loss of something that died 20 years ago. Shake it off.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a request for Office and Word and Excel yesterday, so it's a lot.
Yeah.
What? So I'm going to change the tempo here a little bit.
Okay.
Students as entrepreneurs. I know that's one of your passions, or you have several. I love going to your website because I would probably stay on your website for like 5 days just trying to get through everything. And then you get it, and it's like I love following the rabbit hole because once I jump into one, man, I'm going. It's like, okay, well, let's see where this thing's going to take us. But students as entrepreneurs, that's something David and Greg and I have been talking about at lunch a lot. Is giving our students the opportunity to create something and share it, not necessarily for a profit, but to create something and share it, give it away. Yeah, like your son, open world project.
Right.
Wow. He's an entrepreneur at the highest level.
Yeah, he's a social entrepreneur, and there's such a nice a range of different results you can get from. Yes, maybe it's good to teach inner city kids in Flint, Michigan, how to become self-employed entrepreneurs. That's a benevolent act. Maybe in another community, social entrepreneurialism and teaching kids to make the world better, that's a nice thing. In another community, and maybe these are all the same community, it's okay to teach kids how to build their brand value. So once they decide what they want to do, they have something other than being caught flat-footed beginning to build a brand. And I maintain that kids are building brand whether they know it or not, but they're either hurting their opportunities, limiting them, or they're growing them. And I don't think anyone's living in this space and tutoring them and teaching them how these days. But the web is so democratic. Any of you got this show going on, and it's gaining followers, right?
Right. It
came from nowhere. What is that room there? I mean, it looks like you spent a lot of money on the studio. What room is that?
This is the magazine room at the high school library.
It's the magazine room in the Hope High School that we were able to procure just moments before the show.
Darn it, we thought we could get away with
we were hoping,
radio program, but no.
It's radio. Nobody else can see this, but Kevin sees it and calls it out to the front.
I think it's awesome. I think you should take a snapshot of that because it's just a part and parcel of this idea, this notion that anyone can start with nothing and grow their influence, grow what they're doing. You're doing it right now, so are the kids doing the same thing? And in doing that, are they building new viability for the TV show they want someday, or whatever? Building positive reputation that can be leveraged at the end of the day for good, for whatever. So I love this idea of teaching kids that they're worth something right now. They can build something the world needs. Angela Myers does a great job of this, teaching people that they're brilliant. They just have to believe that you are worth something right now. I think that comes to kids too late sometimes, that message. They've already made some mistakes that limit their options before they ever realize they had great options. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Well, and it's funny to me, all of this seems to tie together, really, as weird as it may sound, throughout a person's lifetime, in a weird sort of way, especially if they become a teacher. Because here's where I'm going with this. And by all means, you can throw wads of paper at me or whatever if you need to. But my thinking is this: that when we are in school, and we have this wide open, the whole canvas is in front of us, and we can do whatever we want. And we have all these options, like you say, and then we start to exercise some of those options. And then we have some teachers who embrace that, and they tell us, yeah, run with the options. That is awesome, phenomenal, go with it. Let me see what you can do. But then we also have some teachers who, they cut that option off. And like, no, that's not how I want you to do that. That's not how I want you to do that. Or one of the things that I absolutely hated in school, and part of the reason why I think I kind of stayed in the shell for so long was because anytime I was wrong, I was shamed, right? Or felt that way anyway. Maybe I wasn't. Maybe that's, embellishing through those foggy glasses we have when we're looking backwards. But so that then carries to, say, adulthood. And now I am a teacher, right, in front of a classroom, and I am the appointed expert, like we were talking about before. And so now I can't break out of my own shell. I won't crank that volume up to 10 or even 7.1 because if I mess up, then I'm wrong. And basically I shun, I shame myself. So there's no way I'm going to open myself up to that to a bunch of students that I'm supposed to be the expert.
Right.
So if your perceived value comes from being right, that's one model. If your perceived value comes from working with kids to find right, that's another. And I think that's what you just described. If I'm wrong, I'm going to be shamed. Then No Child Left Behind comes along with high-stakes testing, right answers to simple questions, and shame you further by putting you in the newspaper, no less. Right. It's a medieval thing, sort of. We're living in an environment, I like to call it dancing in a straitjacket. We're all in straitjackets and asked to dance. There is maneuvering room in there, right? But the best teachers are ripping the seams, and the best administrators are backing those people, because at the end of the day, if you create a bunch of kids who are little Googles or trying to be Googles because they've memorized a bunch of facts that become hazy as time goes by, they cannot compete with the real Google. If we don't teach them skill sets for leveraging the fact that we have instant available knowledge, facts, so that we can begin to build wisdom on those facts, then we're wasting a whole lot of the resource from all of this. I like to say the web and technology prepares a buffet of learning choices, and for the most part, we're eating the napkins.
I absolutely love that analogy. I've heard you use that before, and that is exactly right.
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine who's an author, and she's been a successful author, and she writes books on how to use the web and Google tools. And we had this very real conversation at ISTE this year. And she said, I had to stop writing books because they were stale when they were launched, that this is moving faster than that. So I think in some ways school can be that same model, that we're teaching content that's already obsolete by the time we make it into a lesson plan. So if we can't flow better, if we can't stay somehow synchronized with the outside world and real reality, so to me the only way you can do that cheaply is to go ahead and anoint the crazies on your faculty who do that for free, who just can't stop doing it. Stop blaming them and give them a badge.
I want to say thank you, Kevin, for being here today.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate you taking time out of your crazy schedule, and more importantly, taking, I don't know how Michelle lets you get away this long from Gibson.
I'm honored that you guys had me on. Thank you. I want to do this again sometime.
Had a great day here with Kevin Honeycutt. Wonderful interview. Got to learn a lot of great stuff about him, about his stance on a lot of good stuff that we're all dealing with, because it's education, baby. I'll tell you what, we're going to head out of here. It's been a great show. I'm Jeff Madlock.
I'm Greg Moore.
And I'm David Henderson.
You've been listening to the EduTech Guys, edutechguys.com.